Welcome back, YouTube, to my channel, Invest in Yourself. My name's Cameron. Today we're going to be talking about a new company that I partially opened a new position in, and it's called Slack. And I know it's kind of unusual for me making another video back to back since I took like that four-week hiatus since I've been moving my family off island and getting settled in, being in the military. So I wouldn't call this a consistent thing I'll be uploading every day. It's just one of these things I wanted to get out to y'all and just give you an update, especially when I do open up a new position in the company. So I hope you like it. Drop a like down in there at the bottom of the page, and subscribe to the channel, and give me a comment as well, and let me know how y'all doing if you're own the business of Slack, and tell me what you think overall of the video. But we'll get into it. And overall, if y'all don't know what Slack is, Slack's just a workplace collaboration platform, and it's seen an increase in demand with remote working become a norm during the pandemic. And I'm going to go over in this video overall, like, the first thing is kind of what do I see in Slack and the future growth potential, and second, I'm going to cover why has the stock been downgraded, and it's been kind of downtrending the last week or so, and I want to cover that issue as well. And number three, will I buy more to the long-term account overall? So again, I hope you'll enjoy the video, and just get ready for more exciting videos to come on Invest in Yourself, and we'll get right into it on Slack. So again, I was showing you that obviously Slack is a collaboration platform for small to medium-sized businesses and new innovative growth businesses. As the end of the second quarter fiscal year 21, the company had 130,000 paid subscribers overall, and that reflected a 30% year-over-year growth, and we're getting up to it right now. And Slack is making efforts to attract more customers to its messaging platform and expand its offerings. The company is adding new asynchronous video features which will allow people to collaborate on their own time, and also plans to bring in audio option that allows spontaneous interaction to the platform. Coming back to the guidance, Slack expects revenues to grow around 32 to 33% when it comes to forward guidance for the third quarter, which gets released, I think, at the beginning part of November. I'll look at the end of the video and check and see and give you all that date. And about 38% to 38.9% in fiscal year 21. And if we look at the street moderate buy consensus from Slack based on overall 17 analysis, we got a 9 buy, 6 holds, and 2 sells, with shares advancing 28.4% so far this year, and the average analyst price target of a little over $31 indicates an upside potential of around 16% over the coming months. I think some of these analysts have concerns about slowdown in the stock billing, or the Slack's billing growing rate, which we'll take a look at it right now. And overall, I think that won't play a big thing. They were up 25% year over year when it came to the second quarter fiscal year 21. But again, let's get to it. I think I passed it. Yeah, let me go back to it. YouTube, I'm sorry. Here we go. Yeah, so you can see that 25% of the calculated bills for their second year 21 fiscal year 21 to 218 million, and they decelerated compared to the previous quarter, and I think this is just far-fetched by the analysts. Don't take that for what it's worth, and we have to give it more time, let these numbers pan out, and give them a couple more quarters, especially through the pandemic. But however, Slack's 2Q revenue and earnings did exceed analysts' predictions, but the stock fell. We can check it. It fell from this high point here at $39.90, and as results. Now, it's as investors seem to have either higher expectations and went to Zoom, because a lot of people FOMO'd into Zoom because they had a staggering 355% revenue growth for the second quarter back in July timeframe, and so a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon. And the company ended the quarter with overall 985 paid customers who generated over $100,000 of revenue. As we can get to this, I want to get to it down here. There we go. The customer traction overall, it generated $100,000 in annual recurring revenue, reflecting a 37% growth. And these customers accounted for about half of the overall second Q revenue overall. One thing I want to get into another reason why I bought it, got into Slack and got into the business, being that I do have a large investment share into Microsoft, and being that it's considered the market leader with Microsoft's Teams, I do believe over time Slack will be the leader in all the workplace, collaboration platforms of looking at the metrics with average active daily users and minutes and hours. As we can see right here, everything's been increasing over the last 2 quarters, and I know that's due to the pandemic. But again, active daily use with overall employees are getting adapted to using Slack platform. We all know we get used to operating on platforms that are easy to use. We would be more likely to use it in our daily lives and bring it with us if we were going to a different company or showing it to friends and family, and maybe they start using it and getting adapted to the system as well. Some of these bigger companies, I just don't think they're going to jump over from being on Microsoft, because how important Microsoft Outlook, Office, and Teams. It is so crucial to the world's business institutions, especially they've been using it for years. I don't think those companies are going to jump into Slack, but I think Slack consumer business are highly innovative growth companies. Look at them. So we can just go over these companies right now, and I'll find them here. So look at them. We have Peloton, HSBC, Shopify. We have Peloton, Stripe. I can't wait till they come out. They're gonna IPO pretty soon. I'll have another video on Stripe. Wayfair. It just shows you Slack is going to get into all these new innovative growth companies. So most of these companies that have been using Microsoft for years probably won't switch over, and they'll be stuck on their operating system. And the biggest concerns some might be hesitant with investing into Slack will be their profitability, and they haven't been profitable yet. But if you look at their overall margins, their gross margins, I think non-GAAP, it's almost 90%, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Slack start to become net profitable by this time next year. And they're competing with one of the largest companies in the world, especially Microsoft, and how Zoom's taken off. But what Slack has is millennial growth appeal with small and mid-sized businesses that offer fully integrated platform for new innovative companies. And looking at their cash flow, the cash flow has been growing the last 3 quarters, and I don't see that ever being an issue. The biggest issue that people may not have, and they're like, well, it's kind of rich in evaluation, and if you look at their 16 times forward earnings, but today in the market, we have to kind of look, sometimes past that if we have a company that has high gross margin and increasing cash flows quarter over quarter. And this seems sometimes to be thrown out the door, but by all means, I'm not saying open up a full position at current evaluations, but just recognize that sometimes you can't evaluate a good growth company rationally at times by old evaluation metrics. But I do believe these prices are good enough to start opening up a small position and into the business. And if the companies went down to a lower market cap, I think today they're at a little over 16 billion. Overall, I think they're a little over 16 billion. What are they at? 16 billion overall the company is. And if it went down to the 10 billion market cap range, I would load the boat. And I believe there's opportunity for Slack to either merge or be acquired by a bigger corporation and make a massive interaction platform. So that's something to be aware of. I think that could be a possibility in the future. And now we're going to look at why this stock got downgraded. And overall, there isn't any business-related news pushing the stock lower today. Instead, the reason for the move can be attributed to an analyst downgrade, and specifically Morgan Stanley downgraded Slack to underweight from equal weight and set a $27 target on the stock, and which is lower than the current share price even after today's and yesterday's downward movement. In the analysis notes, Morgan Stanley referred to an intensified competitive landscape, especially from Microsoft, blah, 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 and Zoom. Businesses are certainly spending collaborative technologies in the current work from home environment, but there is fear that Slack isn't doing enough to set itself apart from the competition. And what do I think about this? Honestly, when analysts fuel moves and they have certain agendas, it's important to take a step back and realize that they represent just one opinion of many. And this doesn't even appear to be a popular opinion. According to CNBC's tally of 23 analysts, 12 out of the 23 company rates it as a buy or a strong buy, and just 2 have it as a negative rating. So take it with a grain of salt with these outliers when it comes to especially Morgan Stanley. If you're a believer in the stock and the product, the business model, a single analyst downgrade generally shouldn't change your thesis overall. Since peaking back in June 3rd, the stock has dropped 28%, while some of these other big massive companies have gained. So we have some people that's jumped ship and FOMO'd out into other companies, and they had some of their equity maybe or liquidity tied up in here and went somewhere else. But its problem so far has been investor reactions to the earning reports. They've had 2 positive earning reports, but if you looked at the numbers with the billings and their overall, people were betting on that they were going to break a profit during the pandemic, and that was some of the big thing. They were not breaking a profit in the billing cycles. They were the billing. The billing issues overall, the calculated billing. That's one of the big things. These companies are like, oh, back-to-back quarters of not making a profit, but if you see those profits, they're inching closer each time. So the last 2 has been disastrous for us, as now me being now a Slack stockholder, but they've been clawing their way back to build a better base. Luckily, it manages to find a support, and in us as investors gain more conviction for the overall business. And I'm not a fan of valuations that Wall Street assigns to newer cloud cohorts in general, but while Slack is not bloated, most others are. This is risk to work, because even if like Zoom and Microsoft falls hard and they go down for some crazy reason, obviously Slack is probably going to follow. But the funny aspect about Morgan Stanley's downgrade is that literally after yesterday they put that downgrade out, they end up buying millions of dollars worth of shares after the stock price fall from $32 to the $29, $28 range. So again, some of these analysis and analysts have agendas, money agendas, and they're trying to get that price down to a lower to get for better get their better profit gains and get their overall cost bases down. So be careful what you read, and do your due diligence, and make sure you do research in the company. These so-called pandemic stocks are getting much credit for what they can do in the future. The highest profile example is Zoom Video. The bulls have priced in over 100 years worth of sales in this current stock price. For comparison, Slack stock is only about a 20 times price sales ratio. This is proof that the investors are in at 5 times more realistic than those in Zoom. One can make the argument that Zoom grows faster, and that's fine. But when investors are more realistic with expectations, then there is less of a chance to sustain disappointments. In simple terms, there is less potential downside on the chart for Slack than most other cloud stocks. So I hope you enjoyed this part of the video, and we'll kind of transition now to will I buy more of the company Slack in general. And looking at the migration to products like Slack is here to stay, I believe, maybe even with extending to non-commercial use, because there's a lot of individuals outside of companies that are benefit from easier communications, like friends that want to get into a chat group, maybe overall a fantasy football league, to give example. So I think there's a lot more opportunity just than outside companies to take advantage of Slack overall. And I know that overall evaluation, and it matters, and this is definitely not a cheap stock, but so there will be vulnerable temporary dips after we've seen this last couple of days, because of some analysts basically downgrading the stock overall, and it's going to take some effect, and people are going to end up scapegoating out of the stock in general. But you need to, as a long-term investor, you should stick to your bullish thesis and ignore the short-term noise. That's exactly what I'm doing. The bears could inflict major damage only if I could see that is if the stock went down back to March lows, that initial push of the pandemic, and I just don't expect that to happen. It would be way too close to the pandemic bottom, and I don't see the scenario where fear matches the worst case from March, even with a second resurgence of the Rona or the pandemic overall. So those lows should hold for a long while, and I don't think you'll probably see those lows again. I could be definitely wrong, and something crazy could happen. But if there's an opportunity that goes there, I'll just end up adding more shares where I see fit. And again, but if this virus even mutates and we restrict movement further, I think for Slack and others, it will benefit even more. YouTube, because less mobile people become, the more they need to use this platform and Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Let's look at ARK Invest ETF, Cathie Wood. Number 7, Slack. They've been adding this stock since June, July, just heavy. They own over 11.5 million shares. And you don't think they know a little bit about something, or, they know what they see when it comes to the non-GAAP gross margins and their constant cash flow profits. They know this. They know that Slack is a beast in general. And just look at here. I have some more information for you. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, maybe not be able to. I know I have to go to my documents. But we'll get back to it in a bit. I'll see if I can find it. But overall, I think the last couple of days, they end up buying at these prices 950,000 more shares alone just yesterday. And I wouldn't be surprised when I look up on their ETF tomorrow that they added more shares. And if that ain't a sign that they're adding a bunch of shares, and it tells you if this not a decent stock price or market capitalization price, what they're fell to at a little over 16 billion. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm going to follow Cathie Wood and ARK, and just kind of, it's a good that they kind of give us this whole PDF to follow when they usually update it pretty each day. So just check it out and get a chance to go to arkfunds.com and follow to their ETFs. And I'll continue to add more to my current position here of work and Slack overall. And if it falls lower, I'm just going to keep on building this out to one of my mid-sized positions. I believe this company overall, when it comes to small and mid-sized companies, future small and mid-sized companies, for especially innovative and growth companies, I think they're all going to transform this platform. It's more adaptive for millennials, and I think it's the future overall. And who knows? Maybe the company will get bought out. Maybe they'll merge with somebody else and can create some big conglomerate platform for everyone. So I hope y'all like this video, YouTube, and let me know what you think overall of Slack. Do you own Slack? Down in the comments. Maybe pop a like, maybe subscribe. Again, tell me some recommendations, other companies you want me to look into, and I can break it down, doing overall evaluation of the company and my thoughts. Again, I'm trying to just give you kind of insight, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing. But again, I love you so much. Thank you for coming again. And remember, always invest in yourself and never stop learning.